morning. So today we're going to be doing Chapter 7, Lesson 2. Yesterday we talked about, in Lesson 1, we talked about non-numeric patterns, which were patterns without numbers, and we discussed repeating patterns and growing patterns. Well, today we're doing numeric patterns, so we're going to be doing patterns with numbers, okay? And it says right here what I just said, numeric patterns are patterns that use numbers. A pattern is a list of numbers, figures, or symbols that follows a rule, okay? It's the main part of what we're going to be talking about today is trying to figure out what that rule is. A rule is a statement that describes a relationship between numbers of objects. You can find and extend a pattern by following a rule, okay? So let's go ahead and look at this example 1 right here. It says Carla sells 3 picture frames for $15 and 4 picture frames for $20. The pattern for the price of the frames is the same. How much money will Carla make if she sells 6 frames? Okay, so an important piece of information here is that we know that the pattern is going to be the same, all right? So we got to figure out, we have to identify and describe the pattern by dividing the total cost by the number of frames, okay? So we know that Carla sells 3 picture frames for $15 and 4 picture frames for $20. So in order to figure that out, we would be dividing $15 by 3 picture frames, and we would get $5. And we would be dividing $20 by 4 picture frames, and we would also get $5. And you always want to make a table when you're doing this because it really helps you to organize your information and will help you figure out the problems a lot easier. So it's kind of like a flow chart in doing thinking maps. So we're going to use the rule to extend the pattern. So we know that that 1 picture frame, because we figured this out, $5, is each picture frame is 5. So the rule is to multiply the number of frames by 5. So if we have 1 picture frame, we're going to do 1 times 5, which is $5. 2 picture frames, 2 times 5 is 10. 3 picture frames, 3 times 5 is 15. 4 picture frames, $20. 5 picture frames, $25, and 6 picture frames, $30. So you basically, because we were just adding 1 picture frame at a time, you could also just add another $5 to each one of these, okay? Because we were doing 1 frame at a time. So Carla will make 6 times $5, or, I didn't write it here, or $30 if she sells 6 picture frames. So the rule is multiply, or add 5, excuse me, add 5, okay? Or multiply them. Here they're adding 5, but you're really going 1 times 5 is 5, 2 times 5 is 10, 3 times 5 is 15. I don't want you to get confused by this plus 5. Okay, the only reason we were able to do that was because these increments were just growing by 1. Okay, example 2. The chapters in Daniel's book follow a pattern. The even chapters have 12 pages. The odd chapters have 16 pages. The first page number of chapter 1 is 1. Extend the pattern to find the page number of the last page in chapter 6. Okay. So this is a little bit different. This pattern is changing. So like the last one, every time it was plus 5 or multiply by 5. This is different. So we're going to be adding 12 to even numbers and 16 to odd chapters. So they've done the first one for us. So 1 chapter, this is number 1 is odd, so it's 1 chapter has 16 pages because I'm going to write it here. Odd, 16, even plus 12. Okay. Now this is an even chapter because number 2 is an even number. So we're going to have to add 12 to this 16 right here. 16 plus 12 is 28. Now we're on to chapter 3, but this is an odd chapter. So we are going to be adding 16 to it. So we're going to do 28 plus 16 is 44. And if this is going to confuse you, then you could add them right here, or you could do it on the side. So you could do 16 plus 12, then you could be doing 28 plus 16, okay, and you could be writing them along the side to help you keep track. They've kind of started doing that here, or they have started doing here. So now this is an even number, chapter 4, so we're going to have to add, because even we're adding 12, 44 plus 12 is 56, okay, write 56 in here, okay, and then the next one is going to be chapter 5 is an odd number, so we are going to be adding 16 to it, so it's 56 plus 16 is 72, and then that's going to go here, and then this is even, so we're going to do 72 plus 12, and we get 84, so 84 here. You could just write them like this, or you can do it like this, however, whatever your preference is. So the last page number of Daniel's book is 84. So it's always good when we're looking at patterns to see if there is a different type of pattern. So this one, we were doing evens and odds, okay, and what could you see? This is something you would discuss with your group if we were in class, but something that I know that every ending of every chapter is an even number, which I found kind of interesting because we were doing evens and odds, although every number that we were adding was, even though this was odd, we were adding an even number and even, also an even number. Okay, so then you could write that here. Okay, all chapters, and with even numbers. And you may have found something else, and that's okay. But it's always good, and you can try to find as many patterns as you want. So you'll go ahead and do these with your teacher, but just remember to always make a table and to figure out what the pattern is, okay? And do it several times. Just don't think right away you automatically have it, okay? Really check to make sure. Do several of them all the time to make sure that that pattern that you figured out is correct.